This class is called Two Sides of the Same Coin. I'm telling you, it's my favorite class of my life. Can you go to the next slide? I need 4 volunteers. I need 2 volunteers, 2 people who really think that we need to get our immigration policy. Go to the next slide, bro. I don't know. Oh, yeah, that's all it says. All right. Remind myself what I'm doing here. I need 2 people who think that we need to get our immigration policy, just get it under control. So like building the wall, or maybe not entirely the wall, but we really need to do something about undocumented immigration, and we need to just do some things about curtailing immigration. Like we need to move on this. This is really, really important. And at least build a partial wall, maybe. I don't know. So I need two people who have that idea. That doesn't mean you support Trump. It just means you have that idea. I need 2 volunteers. You don't have to talk, by the way. You don't have to talk at all. You have to say nothing. So I'm not going to ask you to defend your position or anything. I need 2 people who would... Bro, 1, I got a guy. I need a female, ideally. You can go to the front, bro. I need a woman. You're there? Okay, man. Wait, hang on. You did it before, though. Hang on. Is there anybody else? Is there a black or a brown person, ideally? That would be even cooler. Hold on. Dude, so you would agree? We got to curtail immigration? All right, dude. And I need 2 people who are really opposed to that idea. They feel very strongly that the whole path we're taking about immigration is a problem. 1 person, and I need somebody else. Dude, hang on. Is there a black or brown person by chance who would go? Dude, wait, you're Mexican too, right? Colombian? Close enough. Wait, hang on. Now hold tight, bro. Wait. Yeah, you're pretty liberal too, probably, right? Hang on. Can I go with the Colombian dude? White guy. All right, thanks, man. It's fun. Hey, okay, come here. Yeah, come on. Fernando, right? All right, dude, Fernando. And what's your name? What is it? Muna. Muna? Yeah. How do you spell it? M-O-U-N-A. Muna.
Yeah, Muna.
Where are you from?
Syria.
Syria?
Yeah.
And bro?
Michael.
Wait, are you American though?
Yeah, I was born here.
All right.
Michael.
Where are you from?
Dude,
Michael. Where are you from, bro?
I'm American Syrian as well.
Seriously?
Yeah.
And you're... Oh yeah, damn, even better, bro.
Saper.
What's your name?
Saper.
Where are you from?
My parents are from Iran. I was born
from
here.
Iran? Damn, all you foreigners, right? Wait, so you guys are like saying we got to get immigration under control?
I mean, it's on its way, kind of.
Okay, so you're following. It's a good thing. We're going in a good direction.
Yeah.
And you're American too, right? Both of you are American?
Yep.
And bro, and your family's Colombian?
Yeah, they're both from Colombia.
All right. Okay. And where do you live now?
I'm born in San Bernardino, California.
All right. Okay.
909. Where we at?
Any Californians? They don't care, dude.
1, 2, 3. Yo, right. Bryden, where you at? Where my boy Bryden at? Oh, you skipped class.
Dude.
Oh, hey.
All right. You Californians got to stick together. All right, man. Can you all go out in the hallway? Can you take them out in the hallway? And you stand out there with them and make sure you can't hear anything that I'm saying. You're going to not spend the whole class out there, but just right now in the hallway. Make sure you can't hear. Okay, so listen. Here's what's going on. This is... Yo, make sure you don't be by the door. You got to make sure you be by the door. You make sure they can't hear anything, okay? Okay, so here's what's going to happen, y'all, right? We're talking about immigration today. And I'm really committed to showing you how easy it is to just talk about one side of an argument. Okay, and it's difficult to present both sides. Trust me, I try really, really hard. I read really conservative magazines. I read really liberal magazines. I'm all over the place trying to always find a way to be in the middle, right? To present multiple sides. It is. So what I'm going to do today, however, is I'm going to present, I have 6 basic ideas or sort of topics regarding immigration. Some of it undocumented, some of it documented immigration, okay? 6 basic sort of chapters, so to speak, sections to the class. And each one's broken up into 2 parts. One that's shows a really pro-immigration stance, and the other that shows a really anti-immigration stance. And what I'm going to do is I'm only going to show that there are two pairs here, right? I'm going to present only one side of the argument to each pair. So they're going to just the pairs are just going to keep coming in and out of the room, in and out of the room. And each time they come in, I'm only going to show them one side of the argument. And then I'm going to bring the other pair in, and I'm going to show them the other side of the argument. And I'm going to show them the opposite side of the argument to which they believe or think they believe. And I'm going to try to get them to switch their positions, or at least get them to, instead of being like way over here or way over here, I'm going to at least try to get them to the middle, so that they're confused enough that they would end up saying, I really don't know what's going on. If I get any one of them to actually change their position, however, I want an effing standing ovation. All right? Because that's hard. It's going to be really hard, but I'm going for it. I'm really authentically trying to get them to switch their positions. Okay? Are we cool? And you agree? If I do it, you're going to give me a standing ovation? We're good on that? I think I would deserve it. For sure. Okay, so everyone knows what's going on here, right? So we're going to Mina's going to keep bringing them in and out, and I'm going to just really show one side. And mind you, this is what usually happens, including in college classrooms. It is so incredibly difficult to present both sides of an argument to account for all the issues in play that you really, there's just not enough time to do it all. So, you know, what I'm doing is actually fairly typical. Okay, wait, let me see. I'm going to have to use my notes a lot today because it's really confusing. Okay, so listen, man. I need the pro-immigration person. No, I need the anti-immigration person. Two anti-immigration people. No, it's these people, these guys.
I wouldn't say I'm anti-immigration.
No, hang on. No, but you more support like really regulating it. Okay, I'm going to call it anti just because, okay, you can come out. You guys make sure, you couldn't hear me, right? Okay, come on. You can't talk to each other. Once we start, y'all, when you come back in the back room, you can't be talking to each other and breaking it down. And make sure you can't hear anything. Okay, so listen, you can sit in the chairs here. Now, you can hold on to the microphones, but mostly I don't need you to talk a lot, right? Because there's a lot to present. We're going to watch this screen. So it's not you're not anti-immigration per se, but you're pro-regulating and moving forward, and so that's fine, like really. Okay, so here's what I want to, everybody ready? The rocket ship is taking off. All right. So look, we're going to talk about the labor market, okay? Regulating immigration and so on, right? And I question your position and the logic of it. And let me show you a couple of things. First off, now let me just talk about undocumented immigration and why regulating undocumented immigration is actually really a problem. And number one, I'll give you a perfect example from Alabama. You think, for example, there are a lot of people that say, why don't we just round them all up and send them out of the country? We got about 11 million undocumented immigrants in the world. So why don't and they're actually all over the place, right? I mean, they're on the street corners looking for jobs here, there, and everywhere. You can just round them up and send them home. It's very simple. It doesn't take a whole lot, especially if you go to places where people are hanging out in Home Depot parking lots and so on, right? So Alabama decided we're going to do that. This is a problem. We don't have enough work for our citizens here in Alabama, so we're going to make it happen. And so what they did was they passed this law, this HB 56, in which all people living in Alabama had to have documentation, right? If you wanted a job anywhere, if you wanted to hire anybody in the state of Alabama, you had to have documentation, okay? And so that means you show up with this Alabama documentation saying that you are in fact a citizen, right? So you had to get that from the state. Number two, all law enforcement officials, so local police, county sheriffs, state police, whatever it is, anybody who is in law enforcement, if they saw anybody who looked like they were not American, which would be you, by the way, bro, you would probably pass. But, maybe, I don't know. If they knew what they were looking for, you maybe not.
When I grow my facial hair out, I don't.
When you grow your facial hair, okay. So but they'd be obligated to check. If they're driving down the road and they see you walking down the street, they not only are they encouraged to, they were obligated to pull over and check your immigration papers. The third thing was to get into school in Alabama, passing this law, children had to show their citizenship papers. They had to show that they were in fact citizens, because that's not the case in most states. I mean, most anywhere, you can be undocumented and you can still send your kids to school, okay? So, what do you think happened as a result of that law? What do you think happened, bro? Hang on. What do you think happened?
I'm sure it changed pretty quickly after a year or so.
What do you think changed?
That police officers had to stop anyone that looked like that, because that's pretty much stereotyping.
Okay, and what else happened? Like, what happened to the state? What happened to the economy? What happened?
I'm sure it went higher. I'm sure more people were given jobs. And
More people were given jobs? Yeah. Bro, what do you think?
I think there's probably an increase in tax paying because you have probably less undocumented people. So you have more people who are documented paying taxes.
Yep, okay. So here's
you're going to tell me otherwise. But.
Well, I mean, here's what happened. Let me help you out here. After 1 year, they repealed it. And they repealed it because of the following. Go to the next slide, bro. First off, they lost $10 billion in 1 year, the state did, because all the workers left. And they're like, okay, this is a problem, right? And we don't have anybody else to fill the jobs. Had 120,000 poultry workers in 2011, 60,000 of them left, and the poultry plants started shutting down left and right. The people who went in front of the legislature to say, this is a really, really bad law, we need to change this very quickly, were the owners of manufacturing plants, owners of processing plants, and farmers who could not get enough workers to work for them. And so $10 billion in 1 year, y'all, right? So both of you said you thought like, okay, well, this would be a good thing, right? Because we all said just round them up. They tried it. It was the greatest experiment in the world on this issue. It's the only time we ever had an experiment like this. And that's what happened. So next slide. This is kind of funny. So the top, thanks Jesus for this food. De nada means, you're welcome. No big deal, right? So basically, they found out that like Jesus, by the way, if you're Hispanic, you can name your kid Jesus, but if you're white and you name your kid Jesus, he's going to grow up to be like some sort of cult leader or something. But Jesus. But we found out that Jesuses of the world in Alabama found out that all these Jesuses walking around among us are really, really, really important. Do you have a thought about that? Do you want to say anything?
I agree that they're very important, but I don't think we should just be able to have like people just run into like our country and just start working. I think that if they do prove to become like helpful like citizens of the world, then like we can like give them citizenship, to run them through the like tests and all the. So
would you have said that if you were running a processing plant, or you were a farmer, or you were somebody hiring people in Alabama, 2011, 2012?
No.
The problem I have with it is that, so you have these people who are working and you're paying them crappy wages.
Okay, well, hang on, we'll get to that. What do you think? What would you have said if you were an owner of a manufacturing plant or?
I probably would have been upset about it, because now I'm having to find people to pay higher wages and then having to. And
other workers in the state. The whole state lost $10 billion.
Right.
Doesn't matter what your job is, the state lost $10 billion. You got to recoup that revenue somewhere. Right? So if you're a school teacher or you're this or you're that, it's like, hey, this is a problem. Okay, gentlemen, you're out. Next two, you can hang out in the hallway. Don't talk. It's important that you don't like share ideas. And mind you, we're going to come up, I'm going to address lots of issues here. And make sure you can't hear me. All right, have a seat. All right, y'all. Next slide. So look, here's the deal. I'm just talking about undocumented immigration and the labor market right now. Just undocumented. We're going to talk about documented immigration, but now it's the labor market. Look, first off, we generate from undocumented workers in the United States, the estimates are that we generate about $20 billion a year. Okay? The estimates, however, are what undocumenteds cost us in services we provide, in translation services, and one thing after another. It's upwards to $120 billion a year, meaning it's a 6-to-1 ratio. Meaning that, so we have all these undocumenteds here, and you think like, wow, all right, well, they're sort of paying their own way, and they're paying taxes. You know, all you bleeding hearts, you're always saying that, right? But they're paying taxes, and they're contributing. No, they're not. They're not contributing what they need to contribute. That's what it costs us versus that's what we're bringing in. And I'm not talking about just, you know, trying to control them. This isn't just like border patrol, because we could just say, well, just stop the border patrol, right? No, that's additional issues. And even the Office of Management and Budget, even, so this organization right here is this Immigration Reform Institute. So listen, you always want to be careful where you get your data from, so I'm pretty careful about these data, and I'll point out a couple places where it's a little bit suspect. So these are, I dug into the data and how they came to these numbers, right? The 20 billion is pretty standard number from the Office of Management and Budget from the government, but the other one is like, the other one is, at the very least, OMB says for sure guaranteed they cost us $50 billion a year. So there's at least a 2.5 to 1 ratio. Okay? Next slide. Just ICE, right? And so the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. So, bro, you from California, you know all about ICE, right? Do you know about ICE? Okay. So ICE alone, here's what this costs us. So, 9.2 billion in 2003 and 20 billion in 2016, and that number just keeps going up. And the more undocumented peoples are trying to come into, the more we run the risk of, people coming in who have bad will against this country, because people do, right, for better or for worse. Then the more we run into having to pay more money. Okay? Next slide. The other issue is wage depression. Wage depression, my friends, right? When you have the ability to hire undocumented workers, you have the ability to hire people at pretty much any wage you can get them for, because when people are undocumented, they're going to work for anything, for any wage that they can get, almost any wage. I mean, obviously, there are probably there are standards below which people will go, but nonetheless, right? We have this thing called wage depression. Look, productivity. Look at the yellow line. This is productivity in the United States. This is going up through about 2008, right? But hourly compensation hasn't increased, and average hourly wage hasn't increased. And a large amount of this difference right here, people attribute to undocumented workers, because the presence of undocumented workers depresses the wages of people who are here and would make more money. But employers don't have to pay that money, because look, why am I going to pay somebody like $30 to mow my lawn when I can just get some Mexican dude to do it for $10? But the $30 person is an American citizen who needs to pay, they have maybe they have a business and they're paying taxes and they're paying insurance for all their workers and they got all these things, but I just pay some undocumented Mexican dude or Colombian. And okay, that's good for me, but that's actually not good for all of us, right? For all the workers. And finally, I just thought I'd show you that. Don't blame a Mexican just because you're unemployable, right? That's kind of funny and it's pithy, and I see a lot of people who are opposing Trump and these kind of policies and so on. I see them saying stuff like that, but nobody can compete against free labor. Nobody can. I don't care. If someone can teach this class reasonably as well as I can, and they'll do it for half the price or a third or 20% of my salary, Penn State's going to employ them. Eventually, they're going to. Nobody can compete with that. All I can do is just make less and less and less money. So, do you have anything to say about this? Do you have a thought on it? Do you have a question? Because I'm wondering how you can support immigration under knowing this. Do you have a thought? Do you have a question? Do you want to?
We are all immigrants to this country, whether we want to say we're not.
Hang on.
Wait,
we're going to get
on.
to that next. No, that's coming next.
Okay.
I want just this issue.
Oh, this issue.
Yeah.
Well, think about it. I mean, What happens when the Italians and Irish came 100 years ago? There weren't even minimum wage to that effect. I mean, this is just the open market at play.
And they were exploited, and they depressed wages. And this whole country would be different if they had not been exploited by the owners of capital in the way that they were. The whole country would be different. The Rockefellers, all the elites would never have generated all that money that they did. The Carnegies, the Rockefellers, et cetera. Do you have anything? Yeah.
Okay. No, I think that with the fact that you said like that an American, like a citizen here, they never pay like, taxes and whatnot, but like the Mexican, like versus the Mexican, like they still have things like and expenses they need to pay for too. So yeah, they're like their job is like.
Yeah.
You're making me nervous.
No, it's all right. Don't be nervous.
Sorry.
All right.
No,
She dropped an F-bomb, by the way, right
No, I
there.
didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I
I
didn't.
thought you did. All right.
No, I'm going.
No, what do you got? Anything?
No, I
You agree?
no.
Is this a problem?
I mean, it is, but it also like it makes sense as to why they do what they do.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they do it. But listen, but if you're a worker, let's say you find out that your father, do you have a father?
No.
Do you have a mother?
Yes.
Your mother, does she work?
Yes.
She just lost her job because somebody came in and was willing to work at half her salary. So it's like, or they decide they're going to farm her job out to China, or somebody here in the U.S. just decided, some Colombian decided they're going to work. She's going to pay half of what your mother makes, so she lost her job. Does it change it for you? Or are you like, well, no, Colombians have to work too,
And my mom's an immigrant.
Okay, so?
So like,
But she's legalized.
she's legalized.
Okay, so now she loses her job to an illegal immigrant.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks, but it is what it is. You can't really change what's happening.
You can't change it.
Yeah, you can't
Hey,
change
talk
it.
right into the mic.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, all right. That's a bleeding heart liberal response, but we'll let you go for now.
Okay.
All right. You can, all right. Okay, you two. Here we go. You're out. All right. You can leave the mics there. You can leave them on too. Thanks, y'all. You'll be back. Remember, don't talk to each other. How am I doing? I think that I was pretty fair right there. Do you think? Do you think it was pretty fair? Pretty balanced? I thought I did well on both sides, right? I'm confused myself. All right, gentlemen, have a seat. I just when I was first talking, I was on my side with the first two, and then on the second one, I was on my side on the second one. So that's pretty good. I convinced myself, all right, gentlemen, we're going to talk about ownership and racism, all right? First slide. Listen, first off, a lot of people nobody owns the planet, man. Now you start talking about we need to control immigration, we need to, okay, look, here's the U.S., here's Mexico, here's the U.S., right? Here's the border right here. I don't see a big border there. First off, right? If I'm God, this is what God sees. God, for those of you who believe in God, God created this whole thing, and then God didn't create a border here. There's no border. How can you be on one side or another side and be legal or illegal, or documented or undocumented? And we did that. Somebody comes in, they take the land, they decide, okay, we're going to take the land, and we're going to put borders up, and we're going to decide who's going to be legal and illegal. This is absurd. This makes no sense, right? Just like the level of sort of racism and incivility that goes along with that is crazy. So it makes no sense to me. Maybe you all can make sense of it. Next slide. So the other thing is, y'all, this guy right here, all the people who claim to have ownership of this, they don't have ownership. These are the owners of this land. So I love it when I hear people, this sort of loudmouth people talking about, we need to pack up all these illegal immigrants and send them back to where? To where, y'all? That's what Native Americans are saying to everybody else here in the United States. You need to pack you all up and send you back home to wherever you came from. This is why I love this cartoon. Yeah, I'll help you pack, big loudmouth man. Right? Why don't you go back to where you came from? Because it's our land that you stole from us. So that's another idea that I think when you talk about immigration, when we talk about regulating, curtailing, whatever it is, it's you can't talk about the issue without thinking about these things. You got to bring that part of it. History matters. So it's just one day we just make this decision and there it is, and it's all true now, right? Hang on, and I'm going to ask you a question in a second. Next slide. So I love this as well. They're all criminals here, man. All these people who were part of the kind of creation of the U.S. and the expansion of the U.S. and, like Jackson, and Custer, all these people here, especially like Jackson, Jackson, by the way, was the U.S. president who was more involved in spreading into the West and killing indigenous peoples than probably any other president. But all these, they're genocidal criminals, man. Right? And so like here we are, we have a whole society that in some ways is sort of based on holding these people up who really committed what in many ways is the most longest lasting, most extensive genocide in human history that happened right here, which is pretty big. Dude, let me say that again. The longest lasting, most extensive genocide in human history happened right here. So I know neither of your families are from here, but you need to know that when you start talking about regulating immigration, because that's a real part of it that you can't leave out of the equation. So when you think about that, all of what I just said, what do you have to say?
Well, first, when you were talking about the borders between Mexico and the U.S., in the previous class you were talking about not everyone wants to come to the U.S.
Yeah.
So I think borders would be an ideal thing because we're like, U.S. and every other country are completely different from one another.
Yeah.
And they tend to stick with each other unless they need to go somewhere else to find opportunity, which they then will do. And then.
Yeah, but wait, hang on a second. Can you go back one, bro? Go back to the planet one. But what about now? All these people, all the people who are Mexican. No, they weren't Mexican. They were just living in this land. And then go back one more. And then all this. No. Back to the globe, yeah. They're living right here, and then suddenly these other people come from over here, and they put this border up here, and like, hey, wait a minute, this was my land, dog. Like, this is where I live, and like, no, you don't. You can't go over there anymore. You can only, what about that?
I mean, that's what happened in the past, and that was inexcusable. I mean, it really was.
But it's happening right now. It's happening right now. There are all sorts of people who still. We just shift the border a little bit, and we just say, okay, now you can't do that.
See, I don't agree with that. I don't to the extent because they came in like it was a complete genocide. Like,
yeah.
They pushed them out. They said either you live in these reservations or you can die or do whatever, leave. Mm-hmm. But right now, like every country is set up and has been a country for so long, so everyone knows the rules, and people are still trying to come illegally, and that's like risking.
Yeah,
the
but
safety
I know, but like everyone knows the rules. It's like, well, what if everyone knows they just change the rules and mid-game? You know what I mean? Like we just changed the rules. Like for you and your family, we just said, I know we let you in here. Your parents are immigrants.
Yeah.
So we let you in here, but you know what? Fuck. Oh, sorry. We made a mistake. Now we changed the rules up, and now we're gonna send you back.
See, when the travel ban was in place with the 7 countries, Iran was on there.
Yeah.
And while that was in place, me and my family actually went to Iran over the summer.
Yeah.
So I feel like the rules protect their citizens. Because if my parents have been citizens for over 40 years.
Yeah.
So they've been a part of society, been working, been everything.
Right, so you got lucky. Your parents did, who got in at a certain moment in time, and then somebody else who did the exact same thing and didn't get that. So you got to be aware of that. Bro, hang on, we'll come back. Dude, do you have anything to say for yourself?
Well, when you put it that way. No.
Close.
Like what he said. The past is the past, and unfortunately we can't change it. However, we can look to the present and see what our situation is now. And I think, especially with the present dangers in the world, I think having borders on a country are important, and I think it's for the safety of the people in the country as well as out of the country.
All right, hang on, we'll come. Okay, you guys are worthless. All right, okay, go ahead. So leave your mics here. We'll go. So bring the next two in. All right, that was fair. But I totally disagree. I'm going to completely undermine that in a few minutes. Okay, have a seat. Next slide. So a lot of times activists will say, like pro-immigration activists will say things like, this used to be Native American land, and now it's, the Europeans came over and they took, you've heard this story, right? Latinos talk about this all the time, right? So the Europeans came over, they took the land, they stole the land, they committed genocide, and then they just create these borders, and then like, this is it. And so this is a problem. And you can't establish a immigration policy because of that. Like, whatever policy you establish is really essentially unfair and illegal. Unfair and illegal, right? Whatever it is, because it's based on illegality. It's based on genocide, right? So we can't do that. So what I would say is, look, who are the rightful owners? You know what I mean? After a period of time, like, time matters. So go to the next slide, bro. So we have all these neighborhoods, right? And we have this, you know, the land has now been settled by another people. And it's been settled by these other people. It's established, there's a system of law, there are rules of law. Generation after generation after generation of people have now put themselves in place, constructed their lives around there, passed all that land and property and so on down to their own children, right? And so, like, at some point in time, you have to stop looking backwards at what was or what had happened and start to live in the moment. That what matters is that, look, the fact is, people did buy the land and they do pass that land down, and you can't go back and change that. That would be like like this land right here is Native American land. This is Native American land. Somebody else owned this land. So if they come back, if their ancestors come back and decide, hey, we want the land back where Thomas Building is, where Penn State University is and Thomas is, and we want to have that land back, and so therefore you owe it to us, it's like you don't get it back. Y'all, like, you don't get it because it's this now, and you can't have it. And so what I get is a lot of anti-immigration or pro-immigrant, like people who support immigrants, making this argument that it's all illegal land and so on. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's now been passed on, and you're not going to get it back. You can't just show up one day and decide, okay, it's yours. It's done. It's over with. Every bit of land in the world, anywhere, was taken from somebody. So therefore, that argument is just, it's like this spiritual argument. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, and you're right. Like, that's in the past, but who justifies that? You know, white Anglo-Saxons are entitled to that land when we show up 100 years later than most, you know? Is it just first come, first serve? Early bird gets the worm, or, you know? It's not about, hey, this land is stolen. It's like, hey, we should all have the equal opportunity to come to this land.
Yeah, who decides? There's a legal term for this. I'm not a lawyer. I always forget what this term is. The legal term is after someone's been, in my wife's family, they call it the 5-second rule. If you're holding it long enough, it just becomes yours. Yeah. Since there is a legal term that eventually something just becomes the property of that person.
Yeah, but we're not talking about property. We're talking about let these kids from Guatemala come and take the White House or Thomas 100. Just let these kids have the same ability to grow and prosper in this nation, because back home they're dying on the streets.
Yeah, but you can't. Well, first off, not everyone's dying on the streets, but nonetheless, right? No, but you can't.
They don't have the same opportunities.
What allows you to is the fact that you establish a system of laws and rules, and everybody agrees on it, and once we agree on it, it becomes the way of the land, and so therefore you can't just keep changing it all the time. And immigration people are always wanting to just kind of change, like throw this smoke screen up like you just threw up, which is what I'm talking about here. Do you have anything you want to say?
I mean, you're saying like we have to like forget about the past eventually, and, like deal with the now. But I think the second that you start ignoring the past, it's gonna like screw up the future for us, because the past always matters to what's happening now.
Okay, I got you. But where do you go from that? You know, and that's a smokescreen. That just allows you to never go anywhere. We just start here, right? We're just here.
But there are some people that come here, like their parents bring them here. They don't even realize.
Okay, hang on a second. Hold on a second. Hey, can you bring them? You all stay right here. Bring them in. We're going to go to the next one. I know I'm cutting. I'm not allowing you all to say a lot, gentlemen. And I'm not. No, come on here. Come on here. I'm not allowing you to say a lot because we're doing something here, right? That we're all part of. But hey, you can't be on your phones to get what. Don't follow the Twitter feed either out there.
Okay. No.
All right. Okay. So we're doing something. I can't let you say too much. That's why I keep cutting you off and so on, right? Okay, go to the next one. I want to talk about DACA. Do you all know what DACA is? Do you have an idea? This is this is the big. Go to the next slide. So we're all on the same page here. So there are 190,000 people. There's actually there's about 1.1 million people in the U.S. who are eligible for DACA, okay? But there are about 790,000 people that were signed up, right, kind of at the end of where this was. And they're called the Dreamers. And what DACA is, it means that you came to the U.S. illegally or without papers when you were age 16 or younger. You were put in school, and you graduated from school, from high school. And if you didn't graduate from high school directly with a diploma, you got your GED. And after you graduated, you either A, got a job and started working immediately, or B, went to college. Okay? And if you did those things, you are eligible to get your residency papers. And if you get your residency papers, then it becomes much easier to be a citizen, right? So, okay, can you all leave and you two sit down? All right. Good luck with that. All right, gentlemen. So can we go? So you get the DACA thing, right? So here's the deal. So what Trump really threatened. I'm not saying you all support Trump, right? But Trump really threatened to unplug DACA. He said he was going to rescind it. Like this, the Bush administration and the Clinton and the Obama administration, and they really pushed this forward because you got to decide what you're going to do with undocumented peoples. And children didn't choose to come here. A lot of times they're brought here as young infants, and then they come and they don't have a choice, right? It's like, what do you do? And you're here, and like these kids right here, they're Americans, man. It's very likely they don't even speak Spanish, that they speak English. It's almost certain they've never been home. Because if they're here without papers, they probably have never gone home, right? And this is their culture. They may look Mexican, and we have this idea like they're Mexicans. They eat tacos and burritos, and I'm sure they probably do, right? But they also eat hamburgers and French fries and and grilled cheese sandwiches. They are Americans. They watch American cartoons. They watch cartoons in English. They go to English-speaking schools. They do everything that any other American does. And so for someone to and say, we're going to unplug the plug on DACA, and we're not going to give you this opportunity to be residents here is really problematic. Because who else should get residency status but little kids who were brought here against their will and okay, here it is, we're going to be here. So I have do you have a thought on that?
I think that was a negotiating tactic for Trump when he do that. I think that wasn't his original plan. I think his original plan was he takes the extreme and then works his way back to get the deal that he wants. I think that's how he works.
The deal. These are Americans. They're more Americans than many Americans.
Did DACA get rescinded?
What's that? It's kind of sitting there, I think.
So I think be revoked.
You don't think it'll be revoked?
I don't think Congress would let Trump do that, and Trump doesn't have almighty power.
Yeah.
He has checks and balances.
But there are lots and lots of Americans who want to revoke that. It's like you're here to go back home and apply. It's like, all right, whatever.
I think the original problem was that we removed these people in this situation and we didn't legalize them right away. I think
exactly.
If anybody should be in a country, they should be in a country legally.
Yeah, exactly. And they're here legally, and so we can't send them home and then ask them to come back.
Right, but there should be a pathway to citizenship. I think any country should have a tally. If they're going to vote and they're going to have, a say in a country, they should have a tally of who their citizens are.
All right, okay, let's go. You all leave. We're going to keep moving. We got to keep moving. Thanks. That's a good response. I like your responses, by the way. Even though it sounds like I don't. I'm making fun of you when you leave. I actually like what you have to say. These two, however, I don't like what they have to say. So, all right, next slide, bro. Okay, look, here's the deal. So we're going to talk about DACA, right? what happens is, here, let me walk you through the process. Undocumented peoples come into, by the way, how am I doing? Is it fair? You think are you confused? We good? All right, man. Undocumented peoples come into the U.S. and they just keep coming and they keep coming and they keep coming. And then at some point in time, we decide, okay, we're going to have some kind of amnesty. And we give them all amnesty, and then we go back to the count. We start the counter back at 0, and we start over. And it's the same damn process over and over and over again. And it's like at some point in time, you got to put your foot down and say, no, we're not doing it anymore. And we got to start sending people home, because otherwise it just keeps thing. It's like, look, I get that the kids were, they didn't come here, they came here against their will, and so on. It's like, look, everybody comes against their will at some level. It's like we can't just say yes, because all that does is sends a message back to the home countries, the sending countries, to send more and more people. And so they send more people. Oh, good, look, they send babies and they'll give them citizenship. It's like, come on. All right? So that's one. The second thing I want to say is, go to the next slide. Control works, y'all, right? People say like, well, but we can't, but control doesn't really work, because, no, it actually does. The more money we spend on border patrol, right? Look at this. We spend more money on the border patrol, and the number of Mexicans apprehended at the border goes down, in part because people stop coming, because they know they're going to get picked up. And so control works. And so what we need to do is just spend more money on control, on curtailing immigration, and we will curtail immigration. And so we should spend more money. Like, why not? Like, this is so people who want more restricted immigration are simply saying, spend more money and stop it. And then people like you all, the bleeding hearts, are saying like, but you can never stop it. You'll never stop immigration. No, actually you will. We will stop it. We can stop it. And this kind of graph shows that it can't. Maybe we can't stop it to nothing, but we can stop it at least to a trickle. Anything you want to say?
Am I allowed to speak, or are you going to cut me off?
You can go ahead. Okay. He can't speak. You can.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I just want to say that you brought up the point where all those kids from DACA were getting sent back and whatever, and you said eventually you get how they were brought here against their will, but then they're taken out of here against their will as well. They started their lives, they have their families, their homes, and they're taken from it.
Yeah. This
is all they know, and you're going to send them to a country they have no idea what it's like.
Yeah, but I know, I hear that, and that I'm sensitive to that, okay?
Okay, good.
But I'm sensitive to it knowing that, but you don't have a choice, you know what I mean? Like, come on, somebody's going to get hurt, and someone's going to have their rights curtailed somewhere, and it shouldn't be in the present, it should be people who, maybe you didn't break it because you were a 4-year-old, but still you did in a certain sense. So it's like somebody has to.
But do you hold kids accountable for everything they do when they're younger?
What's that?
If you're going to hold a kid accountable for the rest of their life for something they did when they're younger, that's wrong.
Well, why is it wrong? Like, what do you mean?
Because if you're going to hold someone accountable for something they didn't even know they were doing.
What if a little kid commits a murder or something?
I
Are they
mean,
not
that's
accountable?
different. That's taking away somebody else's life.
Yeah, but it's a crime. You committed a crime. You've done something illegal.
But that's intentionally. This had no intent. They had
What
no
if you
idea.
accidentally kill
At 4 years
somebody?
old, they weren't like, "Hey, mom and dad, let's go be immigrants in America."
No, maybe I don't know.
No.
Yeah, but still, you understand it's a slippery slope. You're going to build this up so that so then we're going to have another million kids 20 years from now. And then 20 years from now, another million kids. It's like at some point you just stop it. That's what I'm saying.
Then we shouldn't call America the land of the free or this melting pot.
I don't call it land of the free. I call it just a land of laws. And I appreciate it. And it's good when people follow it.
That's how America is described, the land of the free, and we're a melting pot.
Yeah, I know,
and
but
yet
I don't describe it like that. All right, okay, all right, go ahead. You guys go. Nice, that was good. Fernando, you can talk next. All right. I mean, next time you get to say something that I won't listen to because it's irrelevant. Are we good? Nah, it's okay. We'll just go on.
She's definitely a Karen.
All right, you ready? Gentlemen. All right, next slide. Listen, man, now we're not talking about illegal immigration. We're talking about immigration. When we're talking about restrictions, I want no restrictions at all, right? Do you know what H-1B visas are?
Some
Vaguely familiar? Okay, let me school you on it, right? What's your major, by the way?
criminology.
Krim, what's your major?
Econ.
Econ? Help you with that. H-1B visas are visas that we give out to people who
Work visas, right?
work visas, who have specific skills. And what happens is employers purchase these visas from, so let's say, you're Iranian, right? I know an Iranian who's applying for an H-1B, by the way, okay? You're Iranian, I have a job, I need someone to do this job. You're actually an Iranian citizen, and I'm like, hey, I want to hire this guy. And the government says, okay, well, you can hire him. He needs a visa. And I'm like, all right, I buy an H-1B visa. It's going to cost me between $2,000 and maybe I'm going to buy this visa, and I'm going to bring you in. And the issue is that most of these jobs that are given out in H-1B visas are technology jobs and healthcare jobs and jobs for which they have to be a job for which you can't find Americans to do the work. The issue is, as much as Americans say you should hire Americans, the fact of the matter is Americans cannot do all the high-tech work that needs to be done in this country. We're not good. People aren't interested because they're like criminology majors and not engineering majors or comp sci majors. We're not good at math. People don't like math. They don't do what they need to do. And so we have all these H-1B visas. Next slide, bro. And what we're seeing here is these are really, really important for the growth of the tech sector. Silicon Valley, my friends, was not built on American labor. It was built on immigrant labor. And to a great degree, H-1B visas. Silicon Valley is filled with brown people. Very much disproportionately. And our entire technology revolution grew because we reached in and we got these immigrants, giving them H-1Bs and giving them full residency to say, we want you to come here and work for us. And to somehow, Trump, just for one, is arguing to cut back or even eliminate the H-1B visa. And people in the tech sector in Silicon Valley, and you all ought to be saying the same damn thing. You all, like, dude, that's the dumbest thing you've ever said. Of all the dumb things you've ever said, that's absolutely the dumbest. And that says something, right? Because that's really dumb, because it would have such a negative impact on the economy, because the whole world is going there. Dude, China, India, it's like, man, we're competing on a global stage. So it's like, no, far from curtailing immigration, we need more immigrants, many more immigrants to this country, especially those who will do the work of the tech sector. Dude, by the way,
Are we allowed to talk?
hang on, as soon as I say one final thing. It's also estimated, I want to give you this, that if we took all the 10 to 11 million undocumented workers in the United States and we gave them immediate citizenship, over the 10 years, it would add $1.4 trillion to the U.S. economy. The Jose's of the world, the Jesuses of the world, whoever, right? Okay, go ahead.
So I'm on the fence about this because
Talk right into the mic.
Because on one aspect, we are bringing people in legally, which I'm okay with. We're bringing in people legally from the outside to do jobs that are very important and bring in a lot of money to the American economy.
Yeah.
On the other hand, we are taking these people from countries that should be coming up in their growth technologically and economically, and we're taking the best of their people and bringing them to America. So in a way, we're being a little bit racist when we're taking people from other countries.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Now? I think Donald Trump always just, like, as you said, always just blurts out whatever he wants. He's a pretty
Yeah, he
blunt
does.
person.
That's for sure.
So I don't think ever that H1 visa will ever go bad.
No,
I
this
mean,
one actually, he wasn't just blurting that out.
I mean, he might do some cutbacks on it, but
Bad idea.
I mean, it might be, but just like you said,
No, it would be.
It would be, but like just like you said, the entire world's in a competition to become like superior.
Exactly. So we want more. Don't cut back a single one. We need more H-1Bs.
I agree, but why wouldn't we just invest the money in, instead of bringing all these people in, instead of doing that, we'd invest it into our own education system. So
Yeah,
we
because
can
that's impossible because it would cost so much money, man. Okay.
I mean, we have that money. We pay.
Okay, y'all, have a seat. So here's the deal. We're going to talk about the economy. And one of the issues, one of the problems in the economy is that this, for example, and math. Look where we're at in math. We're behind the Slovak, y'all, and the PISA average score. Slovak Republic, we're behind Lithuania. Dude, Latvia is practically a third world country. We're behind them in math. You know what I mean? And so what we do, look at reading. Look at here we are in reading. We're behind Poland. Like, come on, this is Poland. You know what I mean? Nothing against Poles. My wife is half Polish, but I'm just saying. So look, one of the issues is what we do is we're bringing all these immigrants in to offset the fact that our education system is terrible. And what we really need to do would be to instead of bringing immigrants in to do the jobs that other people don't want to do, including high-tech jobs, which is by and large what we're doing. What we need to do is actually invest in our education system. Like really do a better investment, because that's what we need, people who can do these jobs, so like we should train them better in math. So here, next slide. The other thing is, hey, by the way, I'm like cool with most of, like you all can talk and stuff, because I realize that you can listen. It's fine. This is a different kind of class, so it's fine if you talk amongst each other, because I want you to be trying to figure this out, like which side you're on and so on. You know what I mean? Okay, so look, here's the other side. One of the problems, we keep bringing immigrants in. We make us richer by bringing them in, right? It adds to our GDP, it adds to our economy, it adds to the social value of the United States. But what it does is it takes away from these other countries. So like, look, in the United States, 70% of Indians between the ages of 25 and 64 have at least a bachelor's. 70% of Indians in India of this age. So like it's brain drain. We're taking the best of the people in some countries that can't afford it. Countries like Cambodia, countries like Nigeria, countries like lots of Vietnam. And we're bringing them into the US. We're getting wealthy off them, but then these other countries, they get hurt. Colombians stay at home. Educated Mexicans stay at home. Like, don't come here. Stay at home and invest in your own country. And so one of the issues, next slide, is we have issues of global security. The most developed countries in the world get rich, like the United States, and we have this gross inequality in the world. We're really rich, and all these other countries are really poor because, people like you are saying, no, we need to let more immigrants in. We need to bring them in. It's like, no, we don't. They need to stay at home so they can build up their own countries, right? These are, were you reading last couple of weeks about, this is Calais in France? Do you know about Calais in France, y'all, right? Refugee community outside of Paris. And so there are all these immigrants there that are battling with each other. It's like, dude, you can't, this is this insecurity that we experience. Have that. Otherwise, it's a world in which the United States and a few other countries are really rich, and then everybody else is really poor. What do you want to say to that? Do you have anything to say? Besides, it's a great point, and you agree?
No. Well, I mean, the PSA average report is based on an average, but granted, the fact that we have so many people here, we just beat them out of sheer numbers. That like Penn State has 40,000 undergraduates who are going to get a degree. Poland doesn't even have enough people. Those are just playing with statistics. But the point is that, listen, like our system is screwed because we have a system that advances not the education, but the tenure of these schools and high schools. But that's not the point. We just need to advance our knowledge and allow these immigrants in, like, because...
Dude, you're spinning, pal.
I know I'm spinning.
Because you agree with me, because I made a good point, and you have nothing to say to
Because
it.
first of all, I thought the issue was about illegals. Now we're talking about legal immigrants.
It's both. Yeah, it's both. We're talking about
It's
immigration.
both?
All right, okay, hang on. Just sit with your confusion. All right, next one.
You're spinning. What you talking about?
All right. I'll explain. I'd hate to be one of the four of them, to be honest. I hate being me also, but okay, y'all ready? Let's talk about safety and public goods. One of the things that people who want to curtail immigration all the time, they're always talking about crime, immigrants and crime. Recently, I don't know if you've been paying attention, if you watch the news, but there have been a couple of really high-profile crimes committed by undocumented immigrants. And so whenever that happens, it's on the front page of all the media everywhere in the world, and everyone looks at it and they're like, oh my God, here we are, and here we are, right? But what I want to say is, crime rates among immigrants, in particular undocumented immigrants, are lowest of any groups in the United States by far. On every measure, in every way we look at it, the crime rates of immigrants are the lowest among any group, and of undocumented immigrants, outside of the fact that they're undocumented, so every time they breathe, they're committing a crime, but it's the lowest of all groups.
Yeah, but how can you say that?
What do you mean?
How can you say that they're undocumented? You don't really know how many there are.
No, we know, because we know how many people are. Okay, dude, there might be like some crimes with like one undocumented, like you're both undocumented, he's back here picking your pocket or something, you know what I mean? That we don't know, but we have a pretty good idea, and we know a lot about crime rates. And according to all the FBI crime data, undocumented immigrants have the absolute lowest crime, which makes sense, right? You don't like commit crimes, like, come on.
Yeah, it makes sense because they want to try and stay more low-key because
Exactly.
if they get caught with anything, they're just going to get shipped out.
So it's fine. So like they're not a danger to public safety or anything.
Sure, but...
Go ahead, you're a criminologist, man. Help me out.
You did conveniently leave out the fact that they are illegal immigrants. So if they're here undocumented...
No, but I admit that. So their mere existence is a crime.
Exactly. So they're...
Yeah, but talk about the social good. And here, let me give you another one. Go to the next one. So here, so we're looking at the past 41 years. One of the other things is people are talking about, I think about terrorists, people coming here with ill will and like maybe terror, right? So we looked at the data in the past. This is coming from the Cato Institute using FBI data, mind you, okay? The past 44 years, the average American had a 1 in a 3.64 billion chance of being killed by an immigrant, a terrorist immigrant who came here to do ill will and did ill will. 1 in 64 billion. And a 1 in 10 billion chance, the average American, of being killed by an undocumented immigrant who acted in some terrorist way to do an ill will. So it's just not happening. You have a greater likelihood of being hit by an asteroid.
Sure, the likelihood is up there, but the other aspect of that is we are very, very good at protecting our society too. So that would be the other reason. There's 3.64 billion chance that you are.
Okay.
So
we don't know, but we know it wasn't that many. We know.
Well, you can't just say it wasn't that many.
Well,
I'd like some facts.
No, I can't. No, because I actually was really reading on this, the FBI reports, and it's really not that many. In spite of what some people want to say, it's really not. They really are recognizing.
Right, but there's also a potential you have to.
It could happen. Yeah, it could happen.
You have to mitigate.
It could happen, right? But you could also get hit by an asteroid. So
True.
All right. Bro, any final words here that are meaningless? All right. Listen. All right, go ahead and leave. We have 15 minutes, right? All right, you guys leave.
Outside, back to
But no, back there. Listen, man. So one of the reasons, go to the next slide, bro. One of the reasons that we're talking about public safety, one of the reasons to stop undocumented immigration for sure. Wait, are we all, hang on. I know, I think it's fine, once again, it's fine that people are talking and stuff, because I'm assuming you're in conversation about this, trying to figure out where you're at. As long as you're not talking about what you're going to do this weekend. It's like, got it? Okay, so listen, man. One of the issues with undocumented immigration is, A, by allowing it to continue, people die. People's communities get destroyed. Families get destroyed. Where I used to live in Ecuador, in the highlands, entire communities would be decimated by people coming to the United States. They would take loans out, they'd borrow money, they'd borrow against their land, they'd borrow against their houses. Their last dollars, or sucres at the time, they would borrow against it. And if they got caught and they lost it all, or they lost it to coyotes, they lost everything. And we just allow this system to happen where people just get slammed and really get hurt. And it's just a problem. It really destroys lives. So many people die trying to get here. It's very destructive to people's lives. It's just a bad idea at every level. And the humane thing, so you say like, well, the humane thing would be to allow people to stay or allow them to come. No, the humane thing would be to not allow them to come at all and actually encourage and help them invest in their own countries so that their own countries develop and move forward. That would be the humane thing. And like not supporting all the coyotes, for example. You know what coyotes are? He knows what they are. You know what they are? They are the people who help immigrants get across the border, right? So you pay them a lot of money, and then they said like these illegal gangs of people, right? So you're supporting this this economy. Do you have a thought on that? The main thing would be to stop it. Families' money. So families will pool money together, like maybe like $20,000. They'll borrow $20,000 and give it to one person, like you, for example, a young man, to get to the United States or sending home. But if you get caught or you lose the $20,000, your whole family goes under. It's terrible. The stories I have from my own personal history is just unbelievable. It's heart-wrenching.
Yeah, that's life, man. That's a risk you got to take in life. I mean, but it's for a better. It's not like 20,000 is going down for crack. It's $20,000 to not only help me, but help people back home find a better opportunity that isn't there in the country that they're in.
I know, but if you know that they're running the risk of really getting hurt and losing it, I just find it to be immoral.
But what other alternative is? Wait 20 years while everything's going for shit?
No, the alternative would be to put all your energy into staying home and investing in your local economy. And
invest with what?
Yeah, I got you. Do you have a thought on this?
Okay, what if your home's being bombed or attacked? And
Well, okay, that's a different story. Then it would be find some way to make. What's the same thing, though, right? It's like then put pressure on global forces to say, no, look, we got to stop the bombing. We have to stop the attacks. It's just a problem to allow this siphoning to continue to happen. Here, let me keep going. We got one more. All right, go ahead. Hey, do we have one more? Yeah, I do. All right, you guys leave and come back. I'm going to do these last two really fast because we're going to do this other piece. Okay, gentlemen, this is going to go really fast now. We're going to talk about creating divisions, all right? I'm going to do the whole thing in 4 minutes. Look, right here. Next slide, bro. Dude, legal and illegal immigrants today. So people talk about, they don't learn English, they don't assimilate. They know actually what we find, what we know, and this is hands down true across the board. Immigrants today are assimilating faster into the United States than ever before. And like more immigrants is very positive for society, because the more immigrants we have, the better off all of us are. So therefore, bring more immigrants in, diversify. Diversity is the key to strength. With diversity is strength. Just like your families, we bring your families in from two different parts of the world, it creates a stronger society. We want diversity in DNA. We always want diversity. Diversity makes strength. Okay, that's it. I'm going to just drop it right there. Okay, you guys leave. Bring the other two in. You don't get to respond now. We're running out of time. You will respond in a hot minute, though. Diversity is strength, gentlemen. Diversity is strength. All right, you ready? We're going to do this really fast.
Okay.
Next slide, bro. So when we have lots of immigrants here from all over the world, it costs a lot of money. okay? The INS, just the INS alone, just translation services for Immigration Naturalization Service costs about $150 million a year. In Canada, next slide. So Canada, so this is like, this is Home Depot. It's in Spanish and English. Everything's in Spanish and English at Home Depot and Lowe's and increasingly many, many stores. That costs a lot of money. In Canada, to make Canada bilingual with French and English, for Canada, the estimates are that it costs $2.4 billion a year to make Canada bilingual English and French. I have no idea. I can't even imagine what it would cost to make the United States bilingual. Because essentially we are. We're going to the place where Spanish and English are the two languages. And the amount of money that is going to cost. If that's what it costs Canada, it's going to cost us a lot of money to do that. And so that's a problem for me. All right, man. Go ahead. You guys can stay. Okay, can you all stand up? Can you two stand right here facing that way. Gentlemen, you can stand next to each other, stand right here facing that way, okay? So here's the deal. I want to know, wait, hang on, move over a little bit. So here's, right here, right there, see that little piece of orange tape right there? That's the middle ground. You start down there. There you go. All right, right there. On the middle ground. Yo, you all are down here, they're down there. I want to know, how much have you changed your perspective as a result of the arguments that I was making? Like, could you say you're in the middle? Would you go to the other side? Where would you go in your perspectives? Be open-minded. Oh, damn, dog. You would go there?
You went backwards.
You haven't really...
Dude, where would you go? Oh, you're happy where you are?
You haven't really convinced me. Like, I'm convinced that there should be a level of immigration, but you haven't convinced me that that we should just open our borders up.
No, I didn't. I wasn't trying convincing you that we should expand it. Maybe not totally open the borders, but at least.
But I think there should be a level.
Immigration's a really good thing.
It is, absolutely. I 100% agree that immigration is a great thing, but I also think there needs to be some type of limitation on immigration and also some type of regulation on immigration.
All right, I hear you. Did you move at all?
I moved away because he was backing up. I moved for him to back up.
Yeah. Did you move this way at all?
I mean, I do understand both sides. I try my best to understand, but you're playing devil's advocate, so I was trying to get what you were trying to do.
No, I'm actually believing everything. Listen, hang on, let me ask you this
So
real fast. Do you know what I did? I only gave you one side of the story, and I gave them the other side of the story. And like that one time when the two of you both said something, you actually made the argument for them when I said, hey, that was really, I turned my mic off, I said, that was really cool. That was my argument for them, right? So, no, you did it, all four of you did a really nice job, by the way. I was very impressed. And I had to cut you off, so you should, get applause. However, you need to know that what I was trying to do is actually change your minds. I was trying to get you to come over here, and the two of you to come here, and the two of you to go over there. And I evidently didn't do that. Did I change anybody's mind in here? Like, did anybody in the class flip sides? Like, they came in thinking thing, and they left thinking, what am I, seriously?
For my SoundCloud.
Yeah.
Nando West Coast, have me on SoundCloud. This is what immigration right here. Yeah.
Dude, what's that?
Immigration right here. This is what he doesn't want.
Yeah, I know, dude. I got you. Hey, nobody changed? Is anybody confused? Anybody more confused?
Good.
Good. All right. Hey, listen, really fast before we go. Wait, hang on. We still have 2 minutes. Hang on, y'all. You can hold on a second. Yo. Hang on 1 second. We still have 2 minutes. Listen. How many... Let me just start with this question. Who's dancing this weekend? Right? Can you stand up really fast? Who's dancing? 1, 2... Wait. Dude, you're not dancing. Wait, hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yo, very cool. And how many of you are active in Thon? How many of you are going to be participating? Yo, very cool. All right, man. Hey, have a really good job this weekend. Good luck.